Hey everyone, welcome to episode 7 of Dump City. Today we're going to be building trains, well, tracks at least, and I'll try not to screw up too much stuff. The last time I got to play the game was Friday. Um, I got to do a little bit of stuff offline here. I was thinking about a route, between China and Canada here, and I just laid out this mud route here. To be like a highway or something, you know. Um, I think we kind of need some outer boundaries to our city here. So I did this Friday evening. Haven't played in a few days, so kind of excited to play. It's we only get to play, during stream days. So today we're gonna focus on building a rail network. If you've been following the series, this is realistic mode. So the way you set up tracks, this was difficult. I learned this in my first attempt at failed communism. I really did try hard in my first attempt, but I didn't know what was going on. Like I didn't know about winter. I didn't even know how to build tracks, but I kind of know how to do it this time. And maybe if you're like learning the game or something and you're new to realistic mode, maybe this will be informative. I think I'll make a tutorial out of this too. We should probably do a bit of some housekeeping here. Even though it snows in November, it starts getting cold before that. So this is early, August 11th. Um, I think in about a month it'll start getting cold. So um, this might become active soon. Not many of our buildings are ready here yet. We'll start prioritizing some shortly. I'd really like to get the schools going too, so we can get our techs unlocked to do the cool stuff like drilling. Oh my God, look at this! See, they're dumping garbage off here, and it's full. So none of these should be using the free dumps. This is why you do checks now and then, make sure things are working properly. Okay. So I'm gonna let this run a second. Oh yeah, I created San Diego here offline. I noticed when I built these power lines, there's San Diego. That's uh, that's as urban developed as it's going to get for a while. These two posts. That's uh, that's the level of technology they have there. But yeah, this dump here is full, and this one's from the San Diego Demolition Office. We don't have enough dump space, with losing our cathedral. Uh, like our extra dump we started here has to get built soon. So one of the things we want to do in this world is put a garbage heating plant here. You'll notice here, I don't know, oh yeah, we can see it here. We have an incinerator heating plant, and it produces a lot of pollution, but it produces a lot of heat, and it consumes mixed waste. We're going to sort the garbage out once we unlock some of these technologies. Like the big one we need is general separation. Yeah, we need a university before we can get general separation, and it will take the mixed waste and it will separate them and we'll put them into various zones. Uh, and at the end of it, there's still going to be some mixed waste after all the separation, and that is usually where you send it to an incinerator. I also did this offline. I was messing around with a bridge. Check that out. Does that look like the viaduct? When I went to LA, this wasn't built. Like this was a non-existent um, bridge. It was just hobos basically in tents when I went. But I think that they moved the hobos around. But we do have to kind of plan our area around the rails. So I was thinking in general, the best way to do a rail line will be kind of like up against this lake as close as possible. Like this already has some rail lines, and I'm thinking, so I'm just gonna sort of lay some things out. We're gonna go with electric. Oops, gonna have electric this time. One of the things in realistic mode, well, if you've not played the game, not tried the rails, or you're thinking of playing the game, the trains in this game, like they're much more realistic than other games. So you don't they don't run indefinitely. They have to get fuel. So they have gas tanks, and if they run out, they have to fill up. So from what I've read, and I've never built an electric one, so this is new to me too. If there's any, I'm hoping someone in stream might help me a bit with some stuff here. But from what I understand, they don't they just use the electricity. So they don't have to need like one of these refueling stations. If you do electric, it might be cheaper overall. Like even though the upfront cost is higher, I suspect that the electricity usage is more efficient than paying for fuel. So I guess we'll find that out. I'm gonna sort of lay out some general tracks here. Now, I think Canada is our closest option to LA, and the first immediate need for a rail network is going to be this warehouse here that we sort of started laying a bit of track for. And what I want to do is bring box cars of crops in and take out the surplus. So at least later maybe we'll have actual crops in the area somewhere, maybe around here, who knows. But until then, we will need a way to move. For now, I imagine that there'll be lots of surplus food, that this will be one of our ways to make money. But I do understand, like in the previous playthrough, the people consume a lot of food. So in the end, the fact I think over 70% of the food was just getting eaten by the people. But we don't have to buy the food, at least this way. I don't know if we're gonna actually go under here. Like this bridge might not even really be necessary. The rail could also go around the city too. One other thing I did offline too is I extended our power grid to go further around. So this switch had a connection added, and then I added another switch. And then I went around here, and there's another switch here, and then a transformer, and then I gave electricity to our water pumps. Those are a little bit more important than some other things, but we should do some planning here in terms of where the rail lines are going to go. Another thing too is the rail line I do want to ultimately connect to China, and we have these lines here, so this way we can go either way. From what I was reading, that's one of the core reasons you're going to do a realistic random map. It's starting on the corner. I just read a tip somewhere that said this gives you options. You can go to the U.S. or you can go to the Western or Soviet custom house. But I don't exactly know how that line's going to run through. And again, like I ruined World 1, I'm not going to be doubling up the track straight away. I'll probably in this video, I'll blueprint out parallel tracks. There might be some people watching this that don't know how or just started building the tracks and how does this work. This is a very well made game. It already has a lot of depth to it from the get-go. Even though you can see there's some ways it could add features and expansions. Honestly, I wouldn't even upgrade the technology if they ever did like a, an expansion. Just I would just use the same game engine and just uh, add some more. Maybe a road, more sophisticated highway builder. Maybe maybe a different theme and stuff. Um, but I think the more sophisticated road builder, honestly, like in City Skylines 2, that's the reason to buy City Skylines 2 over City Skylines 1. It's just the road builder is so much better. It's really worth it. Like it's not. Um, if you like these city builders type of games, if they were to make like the ultimate like highway builder, that could almost like literally be the only feature. Which I'm sure they'd add a bit more than that, but if that was the only feature, I would buy it. That would be the thing. Maybe go a little, have some further, go into the 2010s, 2020s, get some modern Western, and I guess you'd go with bricks. That would how it would evolve to bricks or whatever. Um, NATO versus bricks or something. I don't know. Just some ideas of what could be done. But again, I've still only built like maybe a little over half the buildings in this game, so I'd probably still be playing this for a little bit longer before I would think of uh, getting the expansion. And there's some people who've played this game and they're done with it. And they're like, I've played it forever, and yet like to me it's just totally new. But we're like you don't. Where else are you gonna get a communism simulator, right? Like this is, as far as I can tell, this is the best one. This is where when we run it, we'll know. We'll know if it works. One thing I was also thinking too is I'm not sure how well some of these cities work if you just leave them. If you give them just like a factory, but don't give them anything else. See, I noticed like clicking on some of these houses. Look at that, they're 73% happy. 67, 65, 70, and they have nothing. Well, they're just right by the church here. Yeah, 76. Like they're happy. 80% in this. They didn't even have electricity. They're happy. But here, in our utopia, 71. It's 24%. Why? Why are they so angry? Now, I'm hoping this gets better. Like we had an earthquake. Like, why does LA get hit with the earthquake? Like, I guess in the game it's localized. Like, why did it choose? Why didn't it even touch San Francisco? That's not fair. This isn't a fair comparison. It's like comparing, what stuff like that was a post World War II. The stuff he had to do there was, or they were in a tough time. It wasn't his fault. Comparing apples to oranges. I try to when I play these kind of games. I try to do some common sense, like what would be a logical thing to make someone unhappy, and busy, dirty, polluted freeway going through a yard. I can see that being not the best of things. But we do need to get one of these dumps built soon. And we do got to start planning our rail line here. You ever watch when you're, I don't know, when I was younger, there was cartoons on, and they would just show like the show had like 5 minutes of content, but it would be 30 minutes long. Like one of them was like Spider-Man, the cartoon when I was younger. The show was 5 minutes long. But it would be him like, oh, I gotta go find the Green Goblin, and it would just be the Green Goblin just standing on his thing, flying into the forest, and it would be like that for like 3 minutes of him just standing on the thing. I'm going out to the forest, and then it would be Spider-Man chasing him, and it'd be him just like spraying a web, and then just flying in front of these statues, and like the weeds would blow, and the actual content of the show was probably 5 minutes, if that. And then they had various other promos for other cartoons within it. And then, that was what you watched at lunch hour. If you walked home from school on your you had three, I'm 50 years old, so back when I was a kid, you had like three television channels to pick from. No internet, definitely no internet. Telephones were questionable even. Like you had a dial tone, but no one had much more than that. Like a cellular phone was, no one even thought of that. But so yeah, we all watched like the three networks, and it was they had a bit of a monopoly. So they had like, here's your, there's 7 production cartoons to pick from, and here's what your community can watch, and it would be Spider-Man, and you didn't learn anything. But I mean, before that, like it wasn't even color television, so uh, it was considered progress at the time. But if you saw it today, you'd go, this is like maybe you might have it in the background of a rave or something. And maybe if you're on various supplements, it might be interesting. But I don't think a person would watch it today and go, this is thought provoking. So yeah, that was a secret. They just filled it up with useless nonsense. And that was most of the show was just nonsense. See, the first time I played through, I built 2 incinerators, and I don't really understand why you would build just a basic one, other than to just get rid of your garbage. Like it does get rid of the garbage ultimately, but why not build the one with electricity that makes electricity, right? So let's just have a look here. So the large incinerator was like almost 5,000 work days, but it doesn't tell me. Doesn't tell me how many work days to build it. Okay, well, it's probably quite a bit. But this one, like, it makes electricity, but the one we want is this one. So we need to get our university built, and we got to start researching that to get that in place. But I think that means, okay, I'd like to have a road here. We might not even need this bridge. If we don't build this track, we won't need this bridge. Either way, though, I think we need a road line. I think that's a good spot for a road right there. I did this offline. Oh, here's another thing I did too. I planned this out. I noticed you don't have like the type of bridges that they have in I've been to San Francisco too, by the way, and I have driven across the Golden Gate Bridge. And I tried to get one that looked like the Golden Gate Bridge, but none of them are really close. So I'm like, you know what? If it's not going to be close, let's just go with a wooden bridge. Let's go with this bridge. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to start building this. This is a reminder, because this would be a good place to get across the lake. Otherwise, you got to go all around. So I think that would make sense. Kind of in the middle of the lake. So this could be like downtown Dump City here. You can be able to move between zones fairly quick. So I think this road's going to stay. This road here was sort of my first try at it. I think they'll just delete it. I don't think we're going to need it. We'll just... I don't know if this is going to be a big city. Like, the other thing you have to factor in too is we need to get workers to work. So actually, one of the things I was thinking offline is, before we get too into the details of where the rail lines go, I want to know where the bus stops go, because I don't want that to be an afterthought. Just so you know too, as we build these projects, they're going to buy materials, and that's going to cost us money. So the money counter is going to continually tick down. So I want to sort of do all this stuff before getting into the rail building, once we're in the rail building, we're kind of stuck with that, with these roads. These, this is where middle-aged men are watching this and going, "Oh my God, this is the best train builder game I've ever seen." Like this is as middle-aged men. I don't think women are watching this part for sure. Maybe for the entertainment factors, but I don't think I don't. I shouldn't say that. I've played other games. I played Rail Nation quite a bit, and there were quite a few women who played that game. It was, I think it's because of the MMO aspect of it, that there's, literally hundreds of people on a given server, socializing. And, some of I remember there was this one woman, her name was Marge or something like that. And she'd never played before, apparently. And she was like, she won a scenario. It's just insane. It was Marge. So I shouldn't say just middle-aged men, maybe middle-aged women. I don't think younger men or women are as fascinated by these type of games. But I started off my gaming career as Doom, Quake, real-time strategy. I played Warcraft 2. I was on Case's Ladder. I think that's still around today. Even I think it's like Internet Gaming Ladder or something like that. So these are like games that you play that like a game of Warcraft. It lasts maybe 20, 30 minutes, and then there's a winner or loser. Or you play Doom or Quake or whatever shooter game. I actually recently, got to sample some of the more recent shooters, and they're fundamentally not too different. Like the dirty chicanery I could do in those games looks like I could do in the new games too. It's just it's esoteric information, right? You know the timing of the spawns, and you know where everything is. I've also played World of Tanks fairly recently, and that's a game where I just got my ass handed to me. The awareness of how the map works and the awareness of the properties of the tanks, that's so big in that game. And I started playing it a decade after everyone else. So the average player in the community kind of knew like every single spot on every map, like the average player. And here I am. I got up to become I played it for probably close to a year, recently. And I got to be just above average. I had a good Manticore. I had a almost best in slot everything Manticore with make a crew with like max perks, and it was very good. But the thing that drove me crazy about that game is the way like the progression works. Like they say it's not pay to win, but the way the credits work and it doesn't. I don't get it. Like in most games, once you get to the top level, like World of Warcraft, once you get to the top level, there's a whole new game that evolves, right? It's like learn how to craft, make potions, make scrolls, even some gear that you could make, farming. Like your character might even have, spells that are designed for farming whelps or something like that. And, mobility is an aspect of it. But World of Tanks didn't have that kind of end game. It was once you got to max level, you were kind of forced to play level. Like there's like tier 10 tanks, but then you go back to tier 8. And I like that was the optimal gold farming. And the ammo was so expensive, and I think there's ways if you put enough money into it, you could play it quite a bit. But it's like, it is a good game. I'll say, once you get to level 10, the journey there, it's a free game. You played it, of course. It is a fun game. Like as a first-person kind of shooter game, and the tanks are cooler than like these other games where it's a person, their sniper rifles and all that. I think the World of Tanks game is slightly funner than those games. The nothing against Call of Duty kind of thing, but again, it could also be that growing up, starting with right from Doom, like right up to what it is today. I played it like for well over a decade, and I just got tired of it. Like the format, World of Tanks was an interesting spin because you're also building your tank, um, and it's more methodical. You move slower. You can't make noise. Like I don't know if these modern games like audio. But that'd be interesting if like, maybe they do. I haven't played one in a while, but if you run, maybe your feet make clippings like sounds on the ground, and it makes you easier to spot on a scanner or something. Because of the audio. Uh, a lot of those games I've watched them. I see other streamers, and I'm like, this isn't that interesting to me. Even World of Tanks. The thing with World of Tanks is I don't like the way the game starts. But I have watched quite a few streamers of World of Tanks. I think Quickie Baby's one of the more notable ones, and you just near the end is where I find it interesting. Like it's and honestly, I don't think you. Some of them are boring to watch because if you just run over the other team, it's not a close match. But there's some where it's like it's nail biter. You don't know who's going to win, and if they just put those up, that's actually pretty good entertainment. Like just those, like if you don't get a spoiler, and if you're watching it live too. But I guess that it's like sports, right? You can't go to a sporting event and expect it to be exciting every time. Sometimes it's just not, and I suppose that's part of the experience. But these games here, a game like this is an ongoing experience. This is uh, you're planning, and it's little bits of progress, right? Okay, so this is our perimeter highway here. Let's just set another lane. I think this might, like, honestly, this might be like this in the end. Again, mud roads don't cost anything. So this could look like this all around the city. Now, if that were 4 lanes wide, so the middle 2 lanes would be like bypass lanes, but the outer 2 lanes could be like domestic traffic lines. Now this would have to become a bridge, I think. So this could actually be connected in theory if we do this. Another thing, if you're into urban planning and you know a little bit about stuff in the world, there's the busiest freeway in the world is in Toronto, Canada. When I was younger, I saw it once, and I've seen a lot of videos of it, and it is insane. Like I guess I've been to LA, more total freeway in LA for sure. Like in terms of just um, the number of ways you could go on a freeway, but the 401 in Toronto is the busiest. Like, yeah, it really is the busiest. And when you're on it, you're like, yeah, this is insane. Like, there's I think a stretch for several miles where it goes. It's like 18 to 20 lanes wide, and not just for a little bit, for long stretches, and it's full and it's moving. But from what I understand, the reason is similar to the principle of this here, is that part of it's actually 2 freeways on top of each other. So one of them's like a node to node freeway, so you're going from one quadrant to another. So it's supposed to be high speed. Like there's no turnoff. So if you go onto the wrong inner lane, you're stuck on that, right? Like you'll go to the next town basically before you can get off. So it's an intercity kind of freeway mixed with one that has regular off ramps and some uh, connectors. We don't have that kind of freedom in this game to build super complicated interchanges, but we can do this. We can do 4 parallel roads. We can have two, like, you know what? Let's do this. I think I think this would go with the theme of Los Angeles. Like that's like our world. We can do whatever we want, right? We can try communism whenever we want. I think the U.S. would be a great government to do it in. Like you can still have the U.S. Constitution. It doesn't like it's still a rule of law system. It kind of makes sense everywhere. But I mean, like you do still need some free market. I think the way they do it in China is, I think China has a very good system where it's like a mix of free enterprise. Like what the secret to capitalism, like why it works, and it's a it's a psychological principle why capitalism. Like even the most socialist person listening to this, you're like, I thought you were a socialist. I see the both perspectives here because I do see this point too. Is the secret to capitalism is greed. Greed is a natural human behavior. Like if you think about it, let's say you're foraging in the forest and you find a bunch of apples or oranges or pears or whatever, and normally you don't find them, but it's a rare thing you find. Berries would be another thing, and you got a bucket and you can pick some. You're gonna pick as many as you can, and that's human behavior. Like a lot of humans wouldn't, we wouldn't exist if we didn't act that way. So capitalism taps into the greed. So I think a good modern kind of socialist society would have elements of that. Like there has to be opportunities to be greedy, but not like the way it is right now is ridiculous. You can't, like, it's pointless and it's wasteful even to give any, like, Jesse Ventura is right. There should be a maximum wage, right? You don't, beyond a certain amount, all you're doing is being a problem. Yeah, and the purpose of allowing it in the system is defeated at that point. If you're so greedy that you take all the berries and you never redistribute them with anyone else, then what's the point of letting you having that many berries? Because eventually someone will find out where those berries are and they'll be like, well, there's none left for anyone. Just because someone figured out how to do that, like that person should be punished, or at least change the rules of the system. And again, it's not. I don't have a dislike of wealthy people. Like you do have to work to get those berries, but just open your eyes and pay attention to what you're doing. There are there are effects to taking too much stuff. And you can still be like, it's actually to your own detriment. Like there's some people that are super rich but they're unhappy. Like what's the point of that too? Like control yourself for God's sake, right? Like someone pay someone to be a coach of yours that'll walk up to you and just slap you across the face now and then. What are you doing? Someone needs to just use some of that money. You'll be happier. Pay someone to slap you across the face when you're doing something that's, for the shareholders. Like, what's the point of these shareholders? Like, it's all pretend money. You can't. The idea of shareholders is part of the problem. That, like, in a socialist society, the shareholders should be the workers. They're the primary shareholders. Yeah, you can swap some equity and other things, and yeah, you got to do what you can for them. But the number one priority for any CEO is to take care of the workers and the customers. Those are the one and two. Depending on the situation. Sometimes if the worker, it's not too hard. Not every job's that hard. Be a streamer or something like that. It's not a real job, but Then there's people who do real jobs, right? You got to like maybe, and they have unappreciated outcomes to it. Like just think of the person that like when I was younger, I worked on the oil rigs, and that was a real job. And there's still people doing that today. Like that you're out there, you are. It's like it's number one thing is dirty. It's a dirty, dirty job, and then it's very dangerous. Now you get paid well, but if you consider the total physical and mental cost to it, it's not a job that you could offer to any wealthy person would say, I don't know about that job, but it's probably not worth it. But there's uh, if you're going to take care of a company, you want to focus on those people, like making sure they're as happy as they can be, right? Like within reason. Honestly, and that's another thing. I, for one, think we should be transitioning to renewables, and um, yeah, some comments here. I think we should be transitioning to renewables, and one of the reasons is having worked on an oil rig, I would rather install solar panels. That looks like it would have been easier. Like at least it's clean, or relatively clean. Like you got to deliver to the customer too. Like if I drilled a well and just so you know, when you do wells, it's kind of a roll of the dice. It can be anywhere at 10 to 30% if I think they accept like 30% chance it has oil. Some of them we knew it would be very high. I did probably over 100 wells when I was younger, and you got to do the job. Like if you don't find oil, what's the point, right? Like it's so you've got to serve the customer, you've got to treat the worker, but answering to the shareholders, that's gambled money. If there's surplus money, great. If the other two are taken care of, but the way it works today, it's everyone wants to be a shareholder. Everyone wants free money. If you're a shareholder and you don't do either the work or understand what the company is producing, like you're not uh, like that's a problem with capitalism. That I think should be cut out. And I don't blame poor people for anything either. There's some people who just say, why don't these people just get jobs? It's like, well, what kind of jobs do we make for them? Are they any good? Are they even useful jobs? It is quite possible we cannot make enough useful jobs. That's mathematically almost certain. And with innovation, like even the oil rigs when I worked on them, there was a lot of manual stuff. This was in the 90s. And like, quite frankly, I think it's guys doing it now. I saw some videos on it, and they have a few tools I never had. So, like with innovation, technically, you could probably even have robotic oil rigs, robotic miners. At some point, then you got a technician, and then if you do a good enough job, well, you don't even need many technicians. At some point, no one, like in theory, none of us have jobs, and then we do need UVF. Like that has to happen. It's mathematically, how are we going to feed ourselves? Like, do we break all the robots just so we have an excuse to get the money? But we'll put a little bus station here, maybe there. Yeah, that looks okay. Close enough. Goes there. One more bus stop, I think. And I think it should be just around here to get these people. I think that's a good spot. This will service this quadrant. We'll put houses. There'll definitely be some uh, high rises in this area. And that's sort of our basic layout for our transit system. So this will have to go back. Well, this is part of the grid now. Let's go right back on the grid. Okay, I think that. There we go. So this can continue. This will go up this way. This will be some nice happy little road. And this will be the freeway of hell. I'm curious to see what happens in San Francisco. And yeah, our transit system does not go that far. Like that would be ridiculous. But we do have to turn back again. So I want to leave some room here for some apartments. Let's take just an arbitrary road here. There we go. We'll see what can fit in this area later. We can always slide that road up. So now we'll go, from that stop to this stop to this stop, and then back again. And that will serve the city for quite a while. And my goal is to overload it so much that there's so many people at these bus stops that it will mandate the need for a subway. And that's one of the quirks of this game too. If you played City Skylines, you'll notice the grid is it's more precise. But I think that's a feature, not a bug. We're playing 1960s communism here. There is you have to deal with the technology and the knowledge they had then. So, I don't know if you saw the episode. It's a 60-hour day. It seems strange, but and the way the help works, these, this is your help system here. It's not a searchable filter by keyword thing. It's no, you talk to the ministers and they tell you what can be done, right? Nikolai. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of help here. So it explains how things work, and it is very useful. But I think it is intentional. Where's the search, right? But I wouldn't add a search. The way it is perfect, because that gets you to immerse yourself in the situation a little bit more. This is a great game. This is a brilliant game in my opinion. Bit of a spoiler alert here. Capitalism can exist. You can have capital in a socialist society. I believe in a hybrid model. I think there's, like I say, the secret to capitalism is greed. And as in a free market, you wouldn't be able to do this. And this is just a sandbox game. We're just having fun. But if you can, demolish all the houses in the game and then ship them into a recycling plant, and what do you need a gravel mine for? What do you need quarries for? You just need demolition equipment and a recycling factory. So that hopefully we don't need to do that. I hope our economy's good enough that we don't have to resort to stuff like that. But I'm just saying, I can build a road here and I can just, select demolish everything, and that will give us gravel if we run out of money, right? I'm thinking our main dump's going to be in this area here. This is our general separation area. I'm a little worried that this rail is a little close to, it's going right through the middle here. I don't know if I like that. I wonder if we should just turn it directly to the left here. This screwed me up too. It was a complete gong show what I had done. And I built these forklifts past, I'm going to move all the scrap and we're going to deliver it to the plastic recycling. We'll do aluminum recycling. And then oh yeah, they can't move any of this stuff. You'll notice that when you hover over garbage, it can tell you what's in it. So this one's got a lot of construction waste, metal scrap, burnable waste, and other waste. Now, I think as you unlock technologies, it tells you what the other waste might be. But most of that appears to be construction waste. Once it goes through an incinerator, however, where it loses its potency at a certain point, and it can't be. Eventually, it becomes all ash. There's nothing else you can recycle out of it. So when it goes through general separation, even though there's mixed waste in and mixed waste out, the quality of what's remaining and the amount, it's not an equal amount of tonnage come out. It's just saying that, if you put 10 tons of, pure high quality garbage in, out will come, some recycled plastic, some scrap metal, whatever. But the rest there'll still be some mixed waste, but it won't have that in it, or as much of it. Like, it can still contain some of it, because from what I can tell, it doesn't necessarily get all of it. It's not, or the general separation, you can see there's it doesn't even show you. Oh no, it does. Separation efficiency. So it gets the gravel construction materials out 65. It gets the metal scrap 87. If you build specific versions of it, however, like the scrap separation, it's 98%. But I think the thing that really bothered me, it was 98% versus 87, which wasn't terrible. And it's not like I just don't think it's worth it, because it's the logistics of making these things work. It's not about the efficiency. Pure efficiency, if you're too fixated on that, you're not going to have a good outcome. Like, you're wasting. Getting the people to work is still the hardest thing in this game, and that's why we did our bus stops. That's why we're kind of still working on our bus stops here. We're kind of planning, our we'll do some more bus stops here probably in the future. But where you put your bus stop is kind of a big deal. Like, this is the centerpiece of it in a way, and those separation facilities, they need workers. They're not unmanned. Getting people to work is the big thing. And I think that gives us enough clearance for an incinerator, a heat generator. And then we can put ourselves a happy little road here. And a road here. I think we're going to get rid of this here. LA dump 3 is gone. And then we're going to demolish that. And we're going to demolish this. Okay, now we can go here. Start with a crimson blue. Perfect. That's a color, right? Crimson blue. Yellow ochre. I remember that from Bob Ross. Yellow ochre. What is this nonsense? Okay. There we go. All right. I think we'll easily be able to fit ourselves an incinerator. And there'll be some sort of processing facility here. But this is a road. This is not to be contended with. This is going to stay here. This will be paved. This will be gravel at some point. It might even become more than gravel. And I think we need to start worrying about, maybe our heat plant goes more over here even. I think we need to worry about getting the input start, and I have our next dump ready. This one won't take too long, and I think it's also a better location. Actually, that's there. See, as we reason things out, then clarity comes, right? The more you think, that's another one way to make money, is thinking. See, there you go. It goes over the viaduct bridge here, and but that's the end of it though. However, it might do another, it might have a route. You might have some scheduled routes. The distribution offices, they're not as efficient as manual routes, because manual routes can eliminate dead hauling, like where the vehicle's empty. Distribution offices will always be dead hauling. They're always going to be empty on half the time, so it's not as efficient as coordinated routing. So Um, I can't believe how long this episode's going on without any tracks. I won't build them. That'll just be a big joke. Just me ranting and building bus stops. No, I don't. I'll pick up. You got some time. You got time. I'll speed it up at the end here. If it's a long episode, it's a long episode, right? I'll cut out that part, right? And that's the other thing. When I've been doing editing, I noticed I jump all over the place. And I had to make some edits where I was explaining heat, and it was like, okay, I explained 10 minutes here, I skipped 20 minutes of ranting, then 10 more minutes. This is why I'm doing all the planning first, so we can cut out just the rail section of this video. So it might be long, but the rails are kind of a permanent thing. They won't change much. But maybe the general separation, therefore, we have to think about that now. So this will be one source of it. And then we'll have the facility around here. And it will also take domestic deliveries around here. Yeah, it's not too much further they have to go, but I think they're going to have to go a little like around here to get to it. And then afterwards, they go back to the technical office, which, you know, it might make sense to build a technical office here, because and then that technical office could service, like, so there'll be dump-to-dump delivery. So there'll be main separation facility here, and then the big containers that have been mostly separated, then get burnt, would get delivered here. So I think it makes sense to keep that as close to the road as possible. Maybe a little bit. I'll leave some room for a sidewalk here, just in case. A little bit of clearance. Okay, so you know what? We're going to set that a high priority because we are running out of space in our dumps, and I want to rebuild that free dump we just tore down. You know, let's put one in the city. Let's speed this up here because they're just going long distances to tear down this cathedral. Do you think it affects home values? We're going to empty it later. You know what? I think we'll put it there anyways. This is still and we'll set that to, I'm going to set that to mixed waste. Do you ever have weird behavior with your trucks? And keep an eye on your trucks. Yeah, it's because stuff like that happens and you don't notice it, and then civilization collapses. It's a chain reaction. It is pretty quick too, surprisingly quick. Yeah, this demolition office. Let's make its mixed waste dump. Let's make it Skid Row here. I'm sorry, I had to, okay? I had to. I've been to LA, I've seen it, I know what it looks like. So there we go. So they can set up forts and whatnot there. We have the free society. But for now, it's only a temporary thing. It's just because it's not our fault. We're just dealing with problems that we didn't get the best cards dealt in this world. George Peterson has some interesting points, and just I think he talks a little bit out of his range. He talks about what is it called, the green scam? I think it's not a terribly educated point of view. But I think he's from Alberta, so what do you expect? No doubt he knows something about what's going on in the oil patch. If you're from Alberta, that tells you something. So it's understandable why he'd do that. But his thing on religion is, it's like before you had really words to teach you, other things would teach you, and that's what this was. It's a way of, especially children. I went to church a lot when I was up to a certain age. Once you get to a teenager, it's a little hard to control the kids, but maybe that was a good thing. Look at me now. Instead of having a real job, I'm on YouTube, right? So that all worked out. But that's his thing. It said he says you don't want there's information in the in the system, behavior, and especially having people around you teach you and teach some scriptures. Teach just stories. Just history is crazy. And and there'd be various sermons, various topics, and it's just basic stuff, right? Maybe I'll do a skit like that one of these episodes. Be like a very religious kind of formatted thing, like a sermon, and just kind of tacky. Some of the smartest people I've ever met are very religious people, and there's certainly if you're in it long enough, discipline is definitely a thing that you can see comes out of it. So yeah, and again, in this game, they even simulate that they are unhappy. They still have some religious sympathy, but this obviously without a church, they're gonna get angrier and angrier. Maybe they're going over to San Francisco. Some of them. This is so unfair a test because they got free market capitalism here, but they also get a church, so they got pros and cons. Yes. Now that we know kind of where the route's going to go, we kind of eliminate everywhere it can't go. See, I think what I need here, this is why I want to do this before I start. I just want to give the general overview of what's happening here. So normally you need a refueling station where your train gets gas or fuel, diesel, but also I think for electric tracks you use these things. So we need a transformer. Actually, you'll notice there's a couple of low voltage lines when you build from the customs house. So you can go get some there. So I'll probably get it that way. I'll get its power from there. And that would be very quick to build because it's right here. And that will be almost an insta build. But we're going to be above ground electric here. So just in case, before we start I'm going to place this here as sort of the kind of the understood reality of this. Yeah, and I do think we've got to go with Canada. I think if we go over here, that's just too far. I learned that from the last game. Keep this as short as possible. So this will cost more. Electric lines are pretty sure they're more expensive. But I think the operating cost might make it worth it. Again, we're trying to build an efficient economy here, not a consumer-based one. Consumerism and an economy is efficiency times scale. That's what the economy is. If you want a good economy, you have high efficiency at wide scale. Artificial consumerism is not a good economy. Okay. So probably go here. You could really cheat at your job if you're watching this at work or something by kind of just looking at your save file or just have a mental image of it and thinking about your routes. That's cheating, right? That's you're playing a game, but you're actually not playing the game, so you can't get caught playing the game. So for an electric realistic mode build, this will be required to operate the line. So you want to have this in your grid. So I think right while we're here, maybe one open. Yeah, one open. That's that. The next building you need, now if you're playing without electric, if you're going to see, these are your electric. There's only one above ground electric connection. Otherwise, you're going to need a diesel train station, and so your vehicle would have to refuel. So if you're going to go with a diesel train, the only reason I'm going electric is because I tried diesel the last one and I ran out of money. So I think there's got to be something wrong with it. I can only conclude it wasn't the best option. So when we build our tracks now, notice we'll take the electric one here. So just so you know, both electrified and metro are both electric. And one of the other reasons why I'm going electric here is because, from what I understand, to get the metros into your metro system, they got to go along an electric line to get there. So, and I believe you have to buy them at the custom house in realistic mode. So if I'm going to be non-electric out here, I won't be able to get them there. And then I think I got to pay for upgrades. So why not do it right off the bat, right? The other thing about metros is that, like, you're probably like, why would you build 100? Like, you can build this above ground too, right? You're like, why would you build that? I didn't understand this at first when I first played this. Like, 100 kilometer an hour versus 150. Of course, I'm going to take 150. The reason you would still want to build it, even though it's a different top speed, is because do we have it? Vehicles designated for metro can only go on a metro line, so you don't have a choice. Like, you can't operate a metro on the 150 kilometer hour line anyways, and most of these don't go that fast anyways. But if you were to compare the cost of this, so look at this one here. So that's 450 passengers at 70 kilometers an hour. But let's go with okay, so here you have to buy like one of these for $250,000, right? That's one problem. And I think we have a train set. Okay, so this these are pretty good, but this uses fuel anyways. So this one doesn't require electric. But one of them I did notice is the motor wagon. Okay, these are all fuel too. So as far as I can tell, maybe later on, I think later on there's some electric train sets. Okay, but they won't be allowed on your metro. So if you want to have these underground bypasses, see, the reason 100 kilometers an hour is fine is if you're going that fast, while everyone else above ground is stuck in gridlock. Like, you're not only going top speed through a city, you're never stopping, right? Like, it's not just you're going through intersections, and it's pretty fast anyways. I mean, if you consider how long it takes to get to top speed, even at 100, you probably wouldn't even reach 150. So, like, 150 is good in intercity, but that's why you would build a metro. So at a certain point, this will become a metro line. You know, I'm thinking underground, but I'm not going to go too specific. So as far as I can tell, this is okay. I'm going to set it back a little bit from the road because it looks like there is some aggregate options here, and I was thinking of putting some sort of aggregate plant in the area. And it would be nice if we could automatically feed gravel into it. Not a big deal because this isn't part of your real economy. This is your construction economy. Like, it's not an ongoing income, right? Like, you build a food factory, that's ongoing revenues, right? It never stops. Everyone always eats and everyone always works at the factory. Once you build something, you don't there is some theory, if you ever listen to Eric Weinstein, he has a theory it's called the ego, he calls it, and it's like the embedded growth obligation that, there's motives in society for, companies to build things, construct things indefinitely because that's how they make money. And, I think in a socialist controlled society, you wouldn't do that because you build what you need. If you don't need it, don't build it. Here's your, like in this game, you don't pay for housing. Everything's free. right? The food, everything's free. Free housing, you don't need anything. And then I guess, this is the 1960s version. It obviously didn't account for some things. I think, that's why I say if you've watched the whole episode, it's I'm a believer in a mixed model. But yeah, you can't be building things forever. Is kind of the point, though. Like it's not an indefinite thing. You should have people rationally deciding, what should get built. Now, I think we're going to have a construction yard or a gravel recycling plant nearby. Like we could put it in there. I just want to do a quick check here. Let's lay them down. This is a tip for when you're building yours too, because we're going to be doing this anyways. And in the next episode, I'm gonna build one of these, but I'm not sure exactly where it's gonna go. Actually, maybe we'll build it in this episode. This will be a long episode, anyways. I just want to make sure. Okay. Like that. I'm gonna leave lots of space here for lots of clearances between buildings. There's actually quite a big range for these aggregate belts. Oh god, did I screw this up in the last game. This just made me mad constantly. So I want to see if, because we need gravel for our train construction, we want to ensure that aggregate input can reach there. Come on. We'll just see if that can work, but we don't really need this road. We don't need it. Now later we could build a bypass, but for now, I don't think we're going to need it for quite a while. And we can always blow this up. So just as a first very basic explanation of aggregates. So now when we have our construction waste, we're going to, once this is built here, we'll drop our garbage or our construction waste into this building, and then it will become aggregate. So things are going to move around in belts in this whole area, I think. So the reason that's important to know, that means our train should not go anywhere close to here. Now, for the rails here, we will go in a line like this. So I'm going to explain, if you don't know how the signals work, there's probably some people watching this who haven't played this, who think that the signals are so cool in the game they play. But this is one of the most impressive things about this game. Okay, so the way this works, it's like other games. Okay, I'm just going to lay out double tracks here. Hopefully this will be very informative, and it's actually just a few rules you need to know. So the first rule is semaphores are essential in this game, and they have a direction to them. So when you see how there's a green dot there? These are where you can place them, okay? And they can have one way, that way, or both ways, okay? And what that means is that when the AI is, driving the train, like even though if you schedule routes and you plan it, and you're not even if it's not there's a rail distribution office in this game, so the trains can operate automatically. But even if they don't operate automatically, if you tell them to go to this dump, they have to follow rules with the track. And if you don't do this right, there's a high probability, I'll say a very high probability, someone's watching this and the trains are all messed up. And they're like, what did I do wrong? So I'll show you what you did wrong, okay? So there's the way semaphores work is they do two things. They set direction, but they also set blocks. Okay, so as a general rule, anywhere where a train is near a station, you always have bidirectional blocks, in and out. That means train can go in, train can go out. You're not even concerned how anything else works. That's the first step. So if you're having weird signaling behaviors, double check all your stations to make sure this is, and just so you know, if you're in like road mode, like if I switch to building roads, I don't know what direction these things are going. You have to go back into the train mode and select the semaphore to see the directions and your blocks. So right now we have two bidirectional blocks. That means garbage trains can go in and out, and they could possibly go through in the future, but I might actually put a bypass on this. I just want to explain basic rail behavior. Rails, and again, people playing this game, they know how this works. You can skip over this section. I'm just showing this to people that might not have played the game. Or playing the game and they're stuck on something. So rails, generally, we don't make them bidirectional or have a single rail. It's almost always in pairs. As soon as you have more than one train, you got to kind of have paired systems. Now, there's slip path. You probably know how to do a slip. Like you know how these work, right? Where you can here. Like you can allow trains passing zones. So if you put your signals and whatnot in the right places, this could be bi-directional here too. And then you can put one in each direction, and then you can just have passing lanes. So if you have very, very long segments, you can do that. Like I'll just show you quickly how that would go. So let's say you're building a very long distance rail line, and it's for the most part it's just one track, but you have multiple trains on it. Every few kilometers you put one of these. So what it would do is it would have a semaphore, and remember, you can only place them where there's a green dot here. So it's understood that at this part of the track, trains can go both ways. And at this part, it's back to both ways, because the single tracks, trains can be going this way or that way. But once something's using one of the blocks that's only one wide, you cannot have, like I cannot put an additional, if I put that there, that will cause a big problem, because now if a train's coming from this side, like it's only checking this block here, right? Because we added a divider, and it will say, okay, it's good to come here, and then a train could be coming from this side, not aware that neither of them will just be facing each other, and that will never ever fix itself. You can reverse your train. I think there's a button on it in case you do that. But whenever you're on single blocks, you will never divide it into pieces. Okay, that's the first thing. So the single block is one train on the entire block. That's it. But you have these between the blocks. You have these passing zones. So this is how you do it. Again, if you've played these before, you're not going to learn anything here. But for someone who's not familiar with this is it, and you're trying to build a long railway. Then so what this is a passing zone. So again, only one train per block. So that's always going to be a rule. So this will allow you to have a train come in here. So whichever train gets here first gets this zone. Actually, sorry. This isn't even accurate. I should have planned this. So there's a problem here, right? Like as I explained the problem earlier, I did it right here. So this actually can't happen. This has to be the block, and this has to be the block. So it's understood that this is bidirectional. Okay, but here the trains will automatically split. So if there's a train anywhere on that block, it cannot go past that stop. Okay, this will work, trust me. So you could then go a very, very long segment, over here, but then you'd probably want to put another one so they can flip. So this is how you do single track with bypasses long distances. However, most of the time, you want to keep everything. If you want to have high volume rails, you don't run with one lane. You run with you're going to have doubled up track everywhere. It's always understood that the right one, if you can do it left, you could reverse the four letters or whatever, but it's always understood the one on the right is going to be going one direction, one the left. So with that in mind, that's kind of the intent here. So I'm going to go back to that. Here we have, we go back to this. Here we have bidirectional, right? Now, I'm more or less going to replace it. But I want to show this, because I want to have a lane here so the track can go directly to the opposite lane here. So we're going to kind of achieve the same thing as we had before. We'll go back to, so they're both electrified. And we're going to put a semaphore here, bidirectional. Okay. But here we're going to put a crossover. Now these don't go, anywhere where there's a white dot is good. Okay, well, the closest white dot we can get here, well, maybe there. So there. And I like to keep them equal distance, and there. Okay. I'm going to move these. I think I can move these closer now. I want to see if I can get them a little close. So this is the first step. Okay, so we're going to get rid of this line here. Okay. So you lay out the cross just in front of it. So this way you're given the option of going to either one. So the first rule is always set up your bidirectional as close to the end of the cross as possible. Because in this zone, only one train can be in this section. So you want to block this to make the smallest block possible. And it's always bidirectional on the side that is the swapping side, where you're loading usually. And so you would repeat this on a mirror on the other side if you wanted to. So train could go right through this if there's only one lane active. If both lanes are active, it'll just wait here till the train goes somewhere. The train can always get out of this, because once it gets out of it, you have to designate an exit. It has to be specified exactly like that. It's one direction on the right. However, you ever wonder what the chain does? Well, this is what it does. So there's reasons it can go bidirectional, because you can have a mirror of the cross on the other side, but usually you want to set it to one direction. So what it does is it basically looks through these crossings at the next set of lights. So it makes a decision. So this is like it's like a smart splitter if you've played Satisfactory. So it'll decide which one you should go to. So all trains come in, and you could like in this case, you can definitely do this. You can put blocks, right? So that they can wait their turn getting in, and then they get out as fast as they can, right? And this is how you build like a high-speed rail system in general. This can be split further though. Like this doesn't just have to be. This decision matrix can go with a third line just to really emphasize the point here. Like let's say we wanted to make a bypass. let's put a bypass line. Let's just say it was there. Okay. So then you go for your shortest available term. Okay, at some point. Okay. Okay, there we go. Sometimes the way you grab it has an affects it. So in this situation, we're going to do a three-way split. And this will work. So this is, imagine you have, and you could just keep doing this, but the more you split it, the bigger the swap zone gets. So you want to keep them as tight as possible, right? So back to where before, you want to have the crossover on this side. Like you don't want to put the crossover on that side, because how they're going to get to the far right one, right? So both tracks, this way or that way, it has to be able to go that way and that way, right? So put it here, and this whole thing now is a block semaphore. And like I said, you always get it as close as possible where it's green. See how this works? This is your bypass, so it's a little bit more complicated than what I just showed you. Getting out, same thing, and same thing in, right? So this gives you a three-way decision matrix. Go drop off garbage, or go to the next. There might be another one further up, right? And just so you know, you don't want your rail lines to go through your rail construction. Like that would be insane. Like just use common sense. You're going to bypass this, right? So I want to get this, I guess, as close as possible. We could actually go out a bit further here, but I don't want to, maybe a little bit more things, because maybe we can get some sort of facility here. I don't think there's any cost difference in terms of rails. Like maybe it even is better to go further this way in case we want to run a line. So just sort of think about that when you place your lines, is kind of where they're going to branch out to. So I think given the terrain here, I think it kind of makes sense to go probably as close to this hill as possible. I think that's not a bad option right there. And so it could go around here. You have options, right? There's no real difference versus where it is. So I'm not going to double up the trains. Like initially, we're here to save money, and this whole block, I'm not even going to connect it. Okay, just use your imagination. Pretend that, like, I'm going to connect it, but I'll take out one segment. Okay, so it'll just bend like that. I think this might work too. That's acceptable, but I'm just going to demolish one because I don't want this to be built. It's too expensive for now. This is just in the planning phase. But that's how it would connect, right? That would be high-speed garbage. That's your HSG trains. We're going to call it HSG trains, by the way. It's not even an option. Okay, but to get this built, now there's some people who've been listening a long time. How do I get the actual machine to manually build these? So from the construction office, you have to go something like that, and to build the actual tracks, once this building's built, I can't show you exactly here because it's still under construction, but to actually build this, I'm going way over time here, but so this thing contains things like steel, brick, electronic components and stuff. So you're going to have to supply things to it. But once it has supplies delivered to it, and I'm not going to build any bins to it, we're just going to deliver it. It has internal capacity. The way you actually build it, and this wasn't well described. So this you can't use. I almost bought it because I forgot. Because this won't work. You might have bought one already and said, hey, that doesn't work. No, you need disassemble. This is that I didn't realize this in the first game. I wasted probably 1,000,000 rubles. I actually built 2 construction offices, not realizing I had to buy this. And we don't have one that's used, so it's expensive. I don't know if there's another way to do it, but so this gets purchased, and we'll run it for a second here, and it will show up on our tracks. The train's somewhere here. Actually, what is it? Oh no, it's somewhere here. It's just lying around, I guess. It's not like it. It's just it's like your tower. What you need to do is ask yourself, okay, you need one of these flatbeds. The RTTN open here is pretty good. I don't know if we have any free. So what you'll do is you'll just like you load out any vehicle, you'll load it and you will deliver it to your. This is where maybe I get a leg. Where I've explained something, this far into it, and you'll deliver it here. And once it's there, and as long as all the other goods are there, and you've got a bus stop here, close enough that people can get to work. You might have to move that a little bit, the bus stop. It's a little bit far. You might add another bus stop too. But as long as people can get to work, and you have one of those, and all the supplies will start building the track. The only other thing that I would say is missing here is you still need, as far as I know, a depot, like a rail depot. And for our little network here, if someone can tell me the difference between the sizes, let me know. But I don't really know. Now there's end stations, so I'll do something on end station in the future. But essentially, what they do is they keep your vehicle fueled and they keep you on a schedule. But here, this is just garbage going in, so we're not going to worry about an end station. When we're doing metro systems, we'll go over that. But for moving cargo, we just need a train depot, and we have a bunch here. I don't know what the difference between a long one is. If someone can tell me why this is, why you would build it. It takes a lot of space. It's very expensive, but I think around here is a good spot. You see, if you attach one of these things, a vehicle repair station, to it, it will also make your trains get repaired too. And I didn't know that in the first playthrough too. But I'm not going to add that right away. And then essentially you run your lines and you're good to go. There you go. That's kind of the essentials. Once you have your depot built, you'll be able to swap. You buy wagons in realistic mode. This is where you put them on the train. You have to pick them up, right? The train doesn't build any box cars. So you buy them at the customs house, you'll bring them back to the depot, and then you assemble your train, and then you set routes for it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.